All right, I mean, you've always said all the way through this that you are doing the right thing by dairy farmers and that you're looking out for their welfare. But we did get something of an insight into Coles's attitude from your Head of Corporate Affairs, Robert Hadler, who gave a PowerPoint presentation recently. And he talked about how Coles has managed the bad publicity around this issue. Have a look. So he's got his key messages there, and one of his key messages is we use every PR tactic possible to neutralise the noise. And when he means noise, he means those unhappy with what Coles is doing.
I think that the challenge that we face, and to be honest, some of the frustrations that we face, is that the media like the conflict story, and anything that we do to improve performance for particular suppliers, or how we develop suppliers and grow them and build them. And there's nothing I like better. I love it when you've got a small supplier with an idea, an entrepreneur that thinks they've got something that's a point of difference that we can build and develop.
But the thing is, Ian, when I talk to dairy farmers' organisations, that's not the story they tell.
Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? I mean, I think what you've got to look at is what we try and do, and what we talk about.
Why would they say that if it's a good deal?
Well, because it doesn't necessarily suit them. I can't talk for the dairy industry overall.
But why would it not necessarily suit them unless they were feeling the squeeze?
Well, because the dairy industry in Australia, you've got to look at the economics of the dairy industry in Australia and the dairy industry across the world anyway. And you'll find the same dynamics that are happening. There's a requirement within production, whether it be in dairy or other parts of food manufacturing, that's looking to try and improve efficiency. What we've found is that in our attempts to give the consumer a better deal, there's been either confusion or a strong attempt to link the two, to use our approach on milk as a bit of a bête noire to further the case of the dairy industry overall. Now, I've got a lot of sympathy for dairy farmers. I mean, you saw where I came from. Yeah. My grandfather was a dairy farmer, and on both sides of my family, actually.
So I've got sympathy for them,
but things have to change. The country has to change. Productivity in Australia, more generally, it has got to improve. There's some of the highest manufacturing costs in the world are coming out of Australia.
You say you're sympathetic for dairy farmers, but doesn't it give us a clue as to why they might be angry at Coles when we see that sort of language, neutralising noise? I mean, aren't farmers entitled to feel aggrieved when they see that sort of language out of corporate HQ?
Of course, but when you're working in the business and you are genuinely trying to do what's right for consumers and you're trying to genuinely do what's right for your suppliers, but the word doesn't get out, the word doesn't get heard, because, frankly, the media isn't that interested because it hasn't got a conflict attached to it.
And are you prepared to say that, yes, if you are ruthless at corporate HQ in pursuit of those goals, that's okay?
No, I think that ruthless is the wrong word. I think determined, even relentless, but not ruthless. We are not ruthless, Ellen. What we are is determined to make sure we give the best deal for our customers. And what I want and what we want is to make sure that the suppliers that work with us get the opportunity to share in that growth. And any supplier that's worked with us over the last 5 years has probably seen more growth in their business through working with Coles than any other supplier or client they might have.